This is the final part of our series in determining which artist out of every genre of music has the biggest Meat Rider fans. We've spent the past 4 videos carefully analyzing different genres of music by way of a 16-artist tournament bracket by their respective genre. And now we've taken the top 4 winners of each genre that we've covered so far, and we'll be putting them into a final championship bracket. The top 4 artists of each genre pitted against one another in a gruesome free-for-all. Who will come out on top as the artist with the biggest meat riding fan base of all time? Just staring at this right now is brutal. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of bloodshed today.
Most definitely, and it doesn't help with the fact that we're starting off with Cardi/Opium versus Boards of Canada. Like we've mentioned before in our electronic video, Boards of Canada, very, very chill fans.
Opium, on the other hand, total opposite, total freaks.
Yeah, we're dealing with the kind of person that you would never want to go on a first date with. You would never want to go to see a movie with. You'd never want to probably even stand 6 feet in distance.
Post-COVID.
To be honest here, it's really sad to see a bloodshed like this, but
it's a knockout bout right here.
It's a knockout. Cardi/Opium, you definitely have worse meat riders compared to Boards of Canada. Hey, look, Tokyo Pill versus Boy Genius. We're dealing with lesbians versus femboys here.
Yeah, meat riding femboys versus meat riding lesbians. So my first initial poll is towards the direction of Boy Genius, due to the reasons mentioned in the previous video, how they really are the soundtrack to lesbian ideation with no intent to act. I mean, Tokyo Pill, they are all about that action. It's not good action, so that is something in their favor, like of them being bigger meat riders. But I mean, Boy Genius, on the other hand, like Tokyo Pill really cannot compete with the amount of cultural hold they have on all like the indie girls out there right now.
No, yeah, absolutely. And with Boy Genius, I can imagine a group of Boy Genius meat riders getting together, and they don't see it as cringe. They just see it as like, oh man, like this is my cool like little culture, you know? Like it's cool that like I can meat ride and talk about it.
It's almost like a Swiftie sort of thing. So we gotta go Boy Genius.
Boy Genius taking the lead over Tokyo Pill. Cemetery versus Title Fight. You know, it's funny.
A lot of crossover here. If I had to guess, I'd say Title Fight's way bigger. So you can't say this about Title Fight fans listening to Cemetery, but Cemetery fans, you could say a lot of them do listen to Title Fight or would like Title Fight. It's like a grunge gaze, lo-fi kind of sound, which mashes in with Sim's whole aesthetic.
I gotta be honest with you, it's something about that bitter, kind of toxic meat riding that just leaves a bad taste in my mouth compared to the Title Fight meat riding. With Title Fight, like you said, at least it comes from a place of like hardcore nostalgia. Like, I'm just so emotionally attached. With Cemetery,
I wish I could have seen the show back in the day with Cemetery. It's like, Cemetery, you don't fucking drop, I'm gonna dox you, I'm gonna put out all these allegations about you.
It's like watching like an abusive couple like argue with each other, in a movie.
It's like watching a Marriage Story. It's like watching that scene where Adam Driver like punches the hole in the wall.
Exactly.
Except Adam Driver is like the Cemetery meat rider and the wall is Cemetery.
Fucking insane.
Cemetery.
I mean, Title Fight had a crazy run. Title Fight was clearing for a second. But I mean, they got stopped by Cemetery.
Turnstile versus Grimes, both very, very, very effeminate. We're dealing with now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they both got here. They're good at what they do. That is build a cult like fan base of people that we then dub as meat riders. They're both feminine and they're both militants.
I would say though that with the Grimes militancy, it's way more emotional compared to the Turnstile militancy.
Yeah, Turnstile, it's like a knee-jerk sort of like a reaction. Like, no, bro, you can't be hating on Turnstile. They're great. They're the goats. They're so cool right now. They're bringing a lot of people into the scene, into hardcore. With Grimes, it's a much more aggressive, vulgar, beastly, sensual sort of like meat riding. As you were saying in the past video, like she could go on Instagram Live right now. 100K people would be watching. She'd blink. They'd write articles about it. Turnstile, for someone to write an article about them, they have to show up on Rolling Loud, which I guess is impressive for a hardcore band, and also be dressed head to toe in full Rick at the Grammys, which they also had to do for the sake of getting a headline. But man, between Turnstile and Grimes, I think I'm favoring Grimes on this one.
Me as well. Once Turnstile becomes fully accepted at some point, if they ever do,
a lot of the meat riding's going to die down.
Yeah,
it's not going to last forever.
Or with Grimes, that emotional connection is going to stay. So definitely Grimes. You have worse meat riders compared to Turnstile.
Joey versus TV Girl. This one's got me scratching my little noggin right now. I never thought I'd see a combination like this, a mashup. I never thought I'd have to compare these two parties.
I think it's pretty clear to me. Joey simply has the crazier amount of memery, chicanery, tomfoolery surrounding him than TV Girl. TV Girl has this kind of like soft, sweet like association. Sometimes maybe like a little like male manipulator-esque, you know, with its association.
It's like, hey babe, I'll put on Lover's Rock. We'll get to da-da-da. But
Exactly.
In terms of the meat riding, I don't see enough meat riding per capita within TV Girl that's going to justify any sort of resembling a wave of meat riding that's going to overtake Joey here. Joey, he's coming in hard on the inside, kind of like a NASCAR race.
And because of that, Joey, I believe that you have the worst meat riders compared to TV Girl. Next up, ooh, crazy one.
It's really an honor to be participating in this event with you right now. This is a once in a lifetime.
And I'll start off with saying this. I think that old head meat riders, they are worse.
The old head meat riders are going to skew a bit for the worse because it filters out all the ones that didn't have that dog in them. If you're an old head and you've been meat riding for 20 years, like you got that dog in you. You have gone from like a level 1 thief to like level 99 like V-Lone soldier,
Exactly. As opposed to Crystal Castles, those artsy people will have fond memories of meat riding Crystal Castles back in the day and the amount of DeJerem cigarettes they've smoked. But with Megadeth, like you said, these are just crazy level 1000 mafia bosses of meat riding, essentially.
These guys have like broken their ribs like 3 times in pits from like 40 years ago. They're still struggling to get out of bed. They pounce out of bed to hop over and pray to their shrine to Dave Mustaine.
Exactly. And that level of meat riding, it's completely disgusting, and it's just enough to kick them over into the next part of the bracket. So Megadeth, worst meat riders compared to Crystal Castles.
Tool versus Slowdive, Gen X, Toxic, pseudo-intellectual frenzy versus Zoomer / early millennial shoegaze kind of cringe.
I can't tell if the sadness is going to propel Slowdive into winning here. Although I will say with Tool, when it's like a very organized, like pseudo-intellectual, if I had to like paint a visual of like all these Tool fans meeting up, like they're probably reading at the library with their like over-enlarged skulls, smoking like a little bubble pipe like you'd see in SpongeBob or a cartoon. Versus Slowdive, it's just a total pity party, cuddle party, all sad, all very smelly, all wishing they could get their girlfriend back. Just a whole terrible, sad little sack right there.
If these two people approached me, I don't know what would happen first. If they were going to explain the Fibonacci sequence to me or like why they call it shoegaze.
Exactly. This is a really hard one, I gotta be honest with you. When it comes to the level of meat riding that Slowdive representing like so much of the meat riding that gets associated with shoegaze, compared to the kind of meat riding Tool gets, I think Slowdive's meat riding is worse.
I think the fact that Tool is like intergenerational with their meat riding, that you've got Gen Xers, millennials, and now at this point Zoomers picking up right where the previous generations left off with their meat riding. I mean, their singer has been on Joe Rogan. Yeah. If that doesn't scream, like pseudo-intellectual, I don't know what else to tell you. It's kind of like that one quote, Alexander wept for there were no more worlds to conquer. Like the Tool fan wept for there was no more meat to ride.
I think we got to give it to Tool. We got to give it to Tool.
How could you even call it a meat riding bracket and kill off Tool in round 1,
Exactly.
No matter what the competition is. Now, Bring Me the Horizon versus Kanye.
It's funny you mentioned the whole like emo pop punk kind of meat riding and how easy it is to like juice money out of those people, because for Kanye fans it's the exact same thing. You show them a plushie with the Graduation Bear, it's like $200, they'll buy it. You show them a new vinyl that came out of a reissue of something that was released like 10-15 years ago, they're gonna buy it. For Bring Me the Horizon and people within that like kind of sort of fan base, you're definitely gonna have people like that. But matched up versus Kanye, I mean, think about the kind of prices that Kanye's charging for some of the things that he sells. I mean, between the shirts and the shoes and all of that.
Especially with the shoes, they're hundreds of dollars, and they are singular pieces of rubber that have just been cut out of a mold. If you look at the slides, I mean, we have 2 groups of meat riders right now that are just total pay pigs. They're slaves to their cause. They're experiencing financial domination by the person they're meat riding.
I think the level of meat riding, we haven't even seen the peak of it yet. yet. Wait until they're selling posters of Kanye for college dorm rooms after he passes. It's game over. It's going to be as bad as Bob Marley or Kurt Cobain.
Bring Me the Horizon. They also have not peaked in terms of how much money they can keep juicing out of their meat riders.
I think the very height of their meat riding, at best, will be years down the line, right? They're going to have a reunion. They're still going to sell reunion merch.
They're going to do a reunion tour. It's going to be like how MCR is doing it now. And with all their Zoomer fans, they're going to have more... Well, I mean, probably not, but like theoretically, they would have more money by that point in order to get juice.
Very good point. But at the same time, think about the documentaries that are going to be made. Think about the memorial things that are going to be made for Kanye. The 50th anniversry things that are going to be made for
riders
Kanye.
Might donate to build a statue of him.
I'm saying. And how much more meat rider can you get than that?
That's a good point. that means Mount Rushmore is just like a mountain meat ride.
Yeah. They were meat riding those presidents so hard. Okay, Cardi/Opium versus Boy Genius. Man, both of these people are intolerable on different levels. You know, with the Cardi and Opium fan, just by seeing them off the bat, you expect them to be pretty intolerable. Like, you wouldn't want to talk to them. The Boy Genius fan kind of lures you in.
Like a siren that sings in a British accent.
But when it comes to the bigger meat riders, I gotta be honest with you, the Cardi and Opium meat riders,
it's too much of legend status
too much.
That they're meat riding at this point.
You're also dealing with like a lot of like adolescent boys, and the adolescent boy kind of testosterone fueled.
They're going to be more violent than the
way more
adolescent
violent.
girls that are meat riding.
I think it's clear that Cardi/Opium has the worst meat riders compared to Boy Genius.
The Boy Genius fangirls, they're not going to be meat riding like crazy. Well, in the context of indie, they are. But now it's like there aren't weight classes anymore. You know, Cardi's pretty much like Francis Ngannou going up against like Conor McGregor at 125. You know,
Exactly.
Yeah, Conor McGregor he swept his division, but he's not fighting anyone heavyweight. And Cardi and Opium, they're heavyweight meat riders.
Exactly. So Cardi and Opium over Boy Genius and the worst meat riders. Cemetery versus Grimes.
This gotta be like one of my favorite types of relationships I see at shows. Like Cemetery boyfriend and Grimes girlfriend.
It's so often. You see it so much.
They're like that one couple at shows that the girl is saying and the guy is like doing this.
Yeah.
Like the whole time and he never lets her go.
No, yeah, like maybe pumping his fists.
Yeah.
And then like kissing her on the cheek during the
And
chorus of the song.
he's also like 7 feet tall and you can't see around him. He's like the tallest dude at the venue. But what does this mean for Cemetery's meat riding legacy?
The Grimes girlfriend in that scenario has a dying love for Grimes. It's hard, man, because once you start that toxic relationship, like Cemetery has with his fans, it's hard to let go. You get addicted to the toxic, disgusting feelings.
Yeah. At this point, the level of like volume of meat riding, the intensity is the same. At this point, the only differentiating factors you're really going to see are like how early onset the psychosis is. Grimes girl versus Cemetery guy. I still feel like the Cemetery guy is going to have more mental problems. He's going to be more psychotic. I mean, it's close. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's close.
I have to agree with that. I think the Cemetery guy is going to be way more psychotic.
Therefore, his meat riding is going to be way crazier.
Going out of your way to, you know, with cutters and box and knives
Yeah.
and, you know, like guns
Yeah.
and, you know, crazy hammers and chainsaws.
And like bats that have barbed wire on them. You're going to show. It's like,
come on, you know.
you're insane.
Joey versus
Megadeth.
Megadeth, man. The power of those old heads. Think about it like this.
Yeah.
Think about the Joey fans now, like the memes that they're making,
Yeah.
the kind of like fun that they're having with Joey at this point in his career. Then think about when Megadeth meat riders were kids. They're probably doing the same things. They were making jokes with the lyrics, you know. Like,
it was without the internet, so you had to post just as hard to like
Exactly.
get all your thoughts out without being able to post.
exactly. Compared to Joey, which, yeah, you know, his fans love him. They love making memes around him. He definitely gets a lot of real love. But it's hard for me to say whether Joey fans now aren't going to move on from him once something new comes along.
Well, it's kind of like this. If you showed like the most fried and ironic Joey meme to like a fairly strong Megadeth meat rider from the 80s, he'd probably still have a heart attack. It would probably like turn all of his bones to dust, I think. I'm feeling Joseph.
Just despite Megadeth fans, I'm going to say Joey has the bigger meat riders here. Megadeth had to eat dust sometime.
Yeah.
Their time has come.
Already taking a sneak peek at round 3. things are not looking good for the rap world. Like how did the rap game get this fucked up that 3 of the 4 placements in a cross-genre bracket to determine who has the worst meat riders for fans, 3 out of the 4 are coming from rap. Potentially 4, depends on how this little bout here is going to go. Tool versus Kanye.
We did establish, okay, Kanye has that kind of level of fandom where at some point you could see them like building a statue. But with Tool, again, I mean, you have like this kind of like very like deep, like, into like the pseudo-intellectual psychological aspect of things.
It's funny. The whole argument we were having with each other between Bring Me the Horizon and Kanye was all about money. And so recontextualizing that with Tool versus Kanye. Kanye, he came up like in the time where like rap, Supreme, streetwear, grailed, reselling. That's all stuff that his fan base of meat riders, they're used to. I'm gonna spend $800 on this pair of sneakers. I'm gonna spend $500 on this collectible. This one of one, this hard good. Tool, when Tool was big, like streetwear wasn't really a thing. Like flipping things on the internet, that was not a thing.
No.
Tool fans invented flipping streetwear on the early internet with Tool merchandise. So outside of the context that Kanye meat riders came up in, Tool had to like wait for the internet to get invented, for eBay to be developed, and then for them to start reselling posters for thousands of dollars and like Tool's drum kits before the idea of like flipping Supreme bricks and Yeezys even came into fruition. I feel like that means so much to Tool meat riders.
It's hard.
It's like choosing like which child I have to put down because they have tuberculosis, but I'm gonna go with Tool has worse meat riders than Kanye. Opium versus Cemetery, the quarterfinals. This is getting tough.
We're dealing with a toxic relationship with the fans versus a near like abusive relationship with the fans.
Opium fans, Cardi fans, they are totally lucid to the. If you go on the r/Playboy Cardi subreddit, if you search domestic violence or domestic abuse, so many effort posts, so many multiple paragraph long posts, and they're all like, the relationship I have with Cardi is like a battered housewife. Like I keep thinking he's gonna change, he never does. I keep waiting for him to change. December 25th, 2023. That's the day it's all gonna change. He's gonna drop. He's finally gonna drop. He's gonna say he loves me. I burnt dinner by like not streaming like overnight on loop 25 times in a row. Versus Cemetery, we're looking at people that are genuinely violent, that they're armed at all times, they got balaclavas on.
I feel you gotta have some pity on the Cardi fans, because honestly that's a sad situation to be in.
I feel bad for their meat riders.
I do.
And for you to meat ride an artist so bad that I actually genuinely in my heart of hearts feel bad for you.
I gotta give it to you.
Opium.
Yeah, Opium over Cemetery. You have worse meat riders.
Joey versus Tool. I feel like this is one of the kind of easier matches that we're working with right now. We have the legacy of Tool versus relative new gen Joey. Compared to the other artists in the past, or like how he was compared to BLP Kosher in our previous rap bracket from, our first video of this series. Mm-hmm. He was the one with the lengthier discography, the lengthier amount of time for his meat riders to really come into their own.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're coming up against Tool, it's night and day. You know what I'm gonna say. Tool has worse meat riders than Joey.
Here we go, the final two. I was not expecting this matchup whatsoever.
This is the final question. If you go back to 2000 BC, Pythagoras, he started a math cult, and that's how we came up with Pythagorean's theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The point I'm trying to make here is we are looking at the upper echelon of what the human brain is capable of. I'm talking Ted Bundy. I'm talking Charles Manson. I'm talking Jim Jones in terms of like how harshly the human psyche can stretch and mold and gaslight itself into bringing into a new reality of just trying to feel comfortable. It's just a messed up situation. Opium. Tool. Opium.
I think the answer is clear from the start.
Truth is, the game was rigged from the start. For of all the saddest words of tongue and pen, the saddest are these. Opium has the worst meat riders in the history of music. Go to neopunkfm.com to get our merch. It helps support us and also helps us make more videos in the future because most of our videos don't end up not getting monetized. Thank you.